Hello, my name is Tobi Hoff. I'm the front of house engineer with Deep Purple. I've been in this position for roughly 12 years. Before I was the system tech whenever Deep Purple was in Europe. And then one day I got the call, hey, do you want to be mixing? Well, when I was still system tech, this was like 2003 till 2012. In the end of that time, we were using J series. And we've basically been all over Europe with a J series system. Now we're using SL series. This year, 2024, has been a very long year for Deep Purple. We've done already 100 days of touring so far, and we have another 3.5 weeks coming up. We started in June doing festivals where we used local PA. And then from there, we went to the US, where we did 5-6 weeks tour in the US, which was on KSL, main PA, and XSL side PA. And now these upcoming 3.5 weeks will be arena tour in Europe, and we're using GSL as main PA. So the decision, KSL or GSL, it really depends a little bit on venue size. The KSL is a little bit smaller. Like the US, we played places that were a little bit smaller, and we were a little bit more flexible regarding weights and things like that. And now here on this tour, we were playing the really big arenas, like the O2 in London or Max Schmeling-Halle in Berlin, where it makes sense to have a GSL as main PA.
Hello and welcome to the Deep Purple 24 One More Time tour. I'm Sven Wiese, and I'm on this tour as a system engineer hired by TDA Claire from Bottrop. On this run we were a main system consisting 12 GSL-8 and 4 GSL-12 per side. We add 16 SL subwoofers on the ground in 10 positions, and we use 8 Y10Ps as a front full system. Additionally, we have 4 KSL subs per side to cover the balconies and bleachers a little more with a low end, and we add a 12-piece XSL side PA system, which is 8 8s and 8 12s as well.
Well, the newest member is the XSL, which we're using as side PA before. In the past, we used different side PA. We had V series before XSL was available. And now I think it's very seamless, you know, the transition from the main PA, GSL, KSL to XSL as the side PA. Actually, for another artist, I would even choose XSL as a main PA. You know, it really depends on the program, on the content, on the venue size. Deep Purple is a loud rock band. So it's perfect to have KSL, GSL as main, but then XSL is just perfect as a side PA for this venue, for this type of show. On the last tour, we had different flown subs. So this was more a question of availability. Like there was no KSL or GSL flown subs available at that time, but this time we're using the proper flown subs from the SL series, like the way it should be. I mean, the band released a new album, so they're actually playing 4, 5, 6 songs depending on the evening of the new album, which is yeah, that's different than before. But other than that, the PA itself, the configuration is more or less the same. I mean, there's a slight difference from KSL to GSL just from tonality, but that is it's just a different size loudspeaker basically. But the reason why we choose one or the other is the venue sizes, audience sizes, and weights, flexibility and things like that. I'm using a Midas HD console, and we run AES into a Prodigy processor, and from the Prodigy we ran Dante, primary, secondary to DS10s, which are in the amp racks, stage left, stage right, and then from the DS10s we run AES into the D80 amplifiers. The whole workflow that d&b provides, from designing the venue in Array Calc, defining the presets, array processing, all of this, loading the file into R1, then remote controlling the amps, configuring the amps, tuning the system, all of this is a very streamlined workflow. Sven, the system tech here, I mean, he's very experienced, and the system just goes up very easily. As a result, we have a very consistent system every day. So really the system sounds very similar every day, although we are in different venues. The biggest benefit, in my opinion, from the mix point of view, is the cardioid effect of the SL series. That is really a full broadband cardioid effect. So compared to other line array systems, you basically have very little low frequency behind the system. And that is something which makes it easier for the musicians on stage to perform. The band here, they're not on in-ears, they're all on conventional monitoring. The stage itself is quite loud. All amplifiers you see on stage are actually working. Guitar amps, bass amps, the Leslie, the Hammond organ, all of this is working. But then having less unwanted noise going the wrong direction really helps. It helps for the band, it also helps me and the audience. There's just way less of this low frequency accumulation that you would have with a old school PA. And that just makes the sound much clearer and much more easy to listen to. It's still a loud rock show. It is just easier to listen to it because basically below 200 Hertz, it's much more tidy. Everything that's happening is much more defined.
Compared to the previous tours, we replaced the V sub and V series outfill and flown subs into the XSL series and KSL sub series. Basically, we wanted to change into the most recent system brothers of the GSL, and we are looking forward to get a big benefit from this. Behind me, we have one of our amp cities. Each side of the PA is driven by 22 D80s, driving main, side, sub and ground sub. Input signals are delivered by 2 DS10s. These 2 DS10s are hooked up into 2 independent networks, a primary and a secondary Dante network. The primary DS10, if you wish, is driving the inputs D1, D2, and D3, D4 is driven from the secondary DS10, which is the fallback option for all systems. At Deep Purple and TDA Claire, we use array processing ever since it came out, and even before that, we were part of field testing department. Things we love about array processing is that you can achieve very constant tonality throughout the venue. Yes, it has some limits on that in terms of low frequencies are harder to steer than higher frequencies, but basically it is the variations become very narrow in tonality. And on the other hand, we have a very simple way to manipulate the SPL distribution on the on-axis. And if you look into the 3D simulation, you can also look what's happening on the off-axis of any system and multiple systems together. And array processing is a very good tool to be able to have consistent tonality and a predictable SPL and a manipulatable SPL distribution. So if we look at an average Deep Purple show where front of house levels reach 102, 103 dBA, we don't see any gain reductions on the main hangs and the side hangs. Even on the subs, we are rarely seeing a gain reduction happening. And if you look at my setups, I have double and single positions, and the single positions are pushed up even to +6 dB compared to the double positions, and even those are running fine with that. When we enter the special venues where we really have to push the mains with array processing really far, or if we have really dry conditions in the room, then it is a big advantage to have GSL as a main system with 3 HF drivers inside, so there's plenty of headroom to deal with that. So as we get used to practical rigging assemblies, the GSL, same as its predecessor, J-Series, has all rigging parts on the speaker, so it is really easy to use. And there are still some improvements from the former series in terms of link arms are coming out of the speaker by itself instead of you need to push it up or something like that. So it's really easy to assemble on site. So my personal workflow, which is brand independent to mention, is usually that I try to gather as much information about any given menu and any given aspect of the production in advance, many weeks before. So at a point in time we need to specify what PA system to wear with that tour and that production. And well, so I came around a bit already, so I have a lot of venues in my personal archive to use with new tours. And so basically I'm preparing as much aspects of the design in advance at home in the warm and chilly office. So when we get on site in the morning, the first things to do for me is to double check if my venue model is right, if my assumption where the PA is gonna be positioned, if that is right. So there are on many days there are small changes because of the roof structure, the stage position or something like that, and it's really important to double check that before you start to assemble and rig your PA. So do I. And so when that is done, I usually mark out my sub setup on the ground to make other people able to place the subs in the right position in the first place. And then it's time to rig the PA. So like connect your AC to your motor controller, raise the hoists and assemble the PA according to your design and bring it up in the air. Yeah. In terms of system tuning, basically I like to use some time to just listen to the system as it came from the prediction software. And with a little confidence and experience, you will see that parameters from predictions are not as bad as some people expect. And this is especially true for levels and delays, so which is more or less geometric functions which can be calculated pretty good in a prediction software. The things that can or are not predicted in ArrayCalc is the room acoustics itself, which is new to me at some point, and some venues I have a good or bad memory from. Usually when I have a first impression from the room, what to expect, I place my measurement mics at more or less random spaces, so well-selected random places. And so in this case I'm using Smart as a tuning or a measurement software, so I use a pink noise in that case. And yes, you could also use a sine sweep for that. This is more or less a matter of taste and a matter of technical aspects in it, but I'm pretty fine with pink noise, and I capture a couple of opinions from that well-selected places in the room and try to make universal EQ decisions based on that. d&b had been the first company with a technique now known as array processing, which is existent at other manufacturers as well. So, but still, d&b had been the first of that. So, every d&b rig I use should be array processing enabled, always, because that is a really game changer to me, always. And so, same as the comparisons at other manufacturers. One aspect which makes SL series outstanding still is the cardioid dispersion pattern. So that helps a lot, not just outside to prevent neighbors getting angry, but I don't put energy in indoor venues where do not want it. And the bounce from the backstage wall in terms of, so all that cloudiness that's happening in low mid region, for example, is even enforced with a non-cardioid full range system, and this is a really big advantage to me. So even if you use array processing without changing the SPL on the on axis, the cardioid pattern and the consistent tonality helps a lot in indoor venues. So that's a big favor for me using SL series.
The US tour we did on the KSL, which is the smaller system, and we've never run into any headroom issues. Actually, we had so much headroom that I was really surprised. I mean, for this tour here, we still carry a main hang of 16 GSL, and even here in this venue, which is not that deep, we're using all 16 GSL. This is mainly to have the right vertical coverage. Of course, we are far from using all the headroom that is available. And with the array processing, even in a long throw venue, like next week we have some venues coming up where it's basically at edge of the stage to the last row 90 or 100 meters, you would either have to fly a delay system, you know, to freshen up the sound a little bit for the far distance, or you can use array processing and really counteract the effects of air absorption, that you lose high frequencies over long distance. And with the array processing that d&b provides, it is really possible to have a very consistent and homogeneous sound from first row in the audience to the last row in the audience. From the last 40 shows that we did, which was all on d&b, I can say that the overall average result is just very, very consistent. Yes, you have a room that sounds strange, you have a roof that reflects a lot of sound sometimes, but overall you have a very good and consistent result. The PA configuration that we use here is actually very traditional. So we have a main PA left-right, and then we have a side PA, which is like an outfill, basically left and right. And then we have flown subs left-right, and we have subs on the floor, which is a sub array with a sub arc timing on there. And then we've got some front fills at the edge of the stage, basically to cover the first rows of the audience. And this works quite well in all scenarios, and that's what we have been using in a normal arena sound reinforcement for years, for decades. Now the thing is, though, if you start panning things on the mixing console left or right, you have to be aware that only very few people that are in the middle of the audience actually hear the left and the right side of the PA. So if you stand a little bit off to the side, you kind of only hear only the left side of the PA or the other side of the PA. So in the past, I've always been very cautious with panning stuff. So I do more or less a mono mix. Of course, there are some instruments like the Leslie, the keyboards, or the guitar that I would like to spread a little bit more in stereo. So what I'm trying here for the first time actually tonight is using a d&b DS100 processor, which is the soundscape processor, to do some sort of time-based panning on those instruments that I would like to move a little bit out of the center. It's in theory, basically, instead of having a level panning, you do a time-based panning. This is really something we're trying, to see, because it's not a conventional soundscape system. For a normal soundscape, you would need 5 or 7 separate sources, arrays above the stage. But we're trying this here with just the left and right. And the first tests during soundcheck this afternoon, they were quite promising. I think the next shows, the next weeks will show if this is something that works for this band. I mean, the idea with the DS100 and Soundscape is completely different. You don't use the mix bus of the mixing console anymore, but you actually send separate individual signals into the DS100 processor. They show up as sound objects in the R1 workspace, and there you can position each sound object in a two-dimensional plane. Basically, I moved the sources where they actually are on stage. Well, the DS100, it speaks Dante or it speaks Milan. So the version that we use here, it speaks Dante. So instead of going left, right, sub into the system, I run 40 discrete channels out of the direct outs out of each mixing channel, post-processing, post-VCA, via Dante into the DS100. And then from the DS100, we run 14 discrete signals into the PA. And we also have a fail-safe, so in case we want to A/B, like switch back left, right, sub, traditional, to the soundscape, we can do that easily on the Prodigy processor. Well, my first experience with Soundscape was last summer, in summer 23. There's a festival in Stuttgart, close to the d&b headquarters, the Jazz Open, which is a festival where the PA is a soundscape PA. And we did a show there with Deep Purple, and we did a mix on a full real soundscape system, and it was actually really cool. It's way different. The thing is, with Deep Purple, you have, for example, the guitar, electric guitar, and the Hammond organ. They are in the same frequency range. Those two instruments are constantly battling. So you have a guitar solo, you have a Leslie Hammond organ solo, and so forth. And I have to feature the solo, whatever instrument is playing the solo. But with Soundscape, you can position them in different locations, and everyone in the audience can hear, oh, the guitar is over there and the Hammond organ is over there. So the brain and our 2 ears that we have actually help a lot to listen to the music, and the whole listening process is easier. So I enjoyed the show in Stuttgart very much, and this is now a way to see, can we use a little bit of that on a conventional left-right PA, because we don't have the budget yet for a real soundscape PA with Deep Purple. Well, thank you for listening, and enjoy the show.